Georgia Bulldogs on Saturday, and Zabien rolled Tide. What a moment. How was everything for you on Saturday?
It was a great day. It was a great win for the team, and I enjoyed it.
What did you like most about the preparation? Because this team was locked in from the start in that game.
Yeah, from a preparation standpoint, we had a bye week coming in, so just taking it one day at a time, one step at a time. Our coaching staff did a great job of making sure we was prepared and just everything that we seen in the game, we was prepared for.
How do you feel like your hard work and getting ready for this season has really paid off, getting you on the field this fast as a freshman?
I feel blessed, with the work I've been putting in and the opportunities I've been given. I just feel blessed.
Who have been some older players that have really helped you in this transition?
To be honest, I mean, we have great culture on the team, and we have a large. I probably can't even list everybody, but I mean, Tim, King, Tim, TK, Sab, Kai, Damani, D-Law, Schmitty, Hyde. I mean, it's countless, and on the offensive side too. They do a great job of making sure the young guys are on the right track with everything, and we have great connection.
That's really good to see, and it's paid off for you as a freshman getting your early playing time with Alabama. And keep going back to the Georgia game, you got to tell us about, first of all, on the game-winning interception that you had, what was your role going into that play?
Well, Coach Mo had told us previously going in probably the last 3-4 drives of the game that, they got to push the ball down the field and they're going to go for it on fourth down. So I pretty much had a feeling they was just waiting for the vertical game, and I was just prepared for it.
And then you're able to go up and make the play. What were some other things you were able to do during that process to make sure you had the football and got the interception when Alabama needed?
I know they was throwing a lot of back shoulders, on the streets and stuff like that. So I just made sure once I seen the route declare, I just made sure to turn it into the man, and the ball was just right there. I ain't had to think about it. My body just naturally, I just went for the ball.
And you got it. You go back to the sideline. How great was that celebration?
It was great. I think I blacked out. I don't even like. I remember he texted me. He was like, "Dude, I was trying to celebrate with you. You just ignored me." I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't remember nothing."
Well, you mentioned he texted you. I mean, I imagine just looking at your phone for the first time after the game, and it had to be blowing up, right?
Oh yeah, my phone actually wasn't working for a little bit. It was glitched out.
That many text messages, that many calls. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really cool to see. You signed with the Crimson Tide. Have you enjoyed everything here in Tuscaloosa, coming from Southern California to here in Alabama?
It's been great. I mean, I came in with one of my best friends, and that alone helped me, help the transition out just in the early on, and then getting closer with the upperclassmen and the new coaching staff. I feel like it forced everybody to bond together even that much more. So, with the help of the older guys and my classmates that came in with me, I feel like everybody just gelled real good together.
And you come to us from Modern Day High School, which a lot of people consider one of the Alabama type programs in high school football. It's one of the few high schools around the country that everybody knows. Does that make the transition easier going from an elite high school program to a place like here?
I think it definitely does. If you use the resources at schools like Modern Day the right way, I think you can definitely prepare yourself for college in a different type of way.
So Alabama now 4-0 in the season, but you're back to work, getting ready for another SEC game. What's going to be most important this week, making sure you guys are ready to go for Saturday in Nashville?
Every day we preach 1-0, so that's pretty much our mindset, one day at a time, one opponent at a time.
Well, Zabien, you're off to a great start. Congratulations on the game-winning interception against the Georgia Bulldogs. Just best of luck the rest of the way. Thank you. Roll Tide.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
It's your last chance to purchase tickets for NASCAR's return to the biggest and baddest track. This weekend, race fans will not only be treated to 3 action-packed NASCAR playoff races, but they will also have the chance to see country music star Jake Owen perform on Saturday night in the iconic Talladega infield. There is nothing like the NASCAR playoffs, and it's coming to you this weekend in Alabama. Create memories with your family that will last a lifetime, and lock in your seats today for the Yellowwood 500 at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. Fun conversation with Zabien Brown. Hopefully he and his Crimson Tide teammates can keep it going this week against Vanderbilt. On the call for the SEC Network will be Tom Hart on play-by-play, Cole Kubelik as the color analyst, and then on the sidelines, our good friend Alyssa Lang from the SEC Network. She also hosts Out of Pocket each and every Wednesday night on the SEC Network as well. She joins us as our national media guest this week to give us a breakdown not just of Alabama and Vanderbilt, a team she's seen in the last couple weeks, but also a sample of everything that's going on around the Southeastern Conference football as we start the month of October. Here's our conversation with Alyssa Lang. Alyssa, it is great to see you. It's great to see you covering Alabama football this week. How's everything going?
It's great to see you too, Roger. Yeah, I was hoping and praying that I would get a Bama game this year. There are some seasons that go by that I don't see Alabama. And of course, with Coach DeBoer and the staff taking over, I haven't met him yet. I'm really looking forward to meeting him on Friday for our pregame meetings. And then, of course, covering him and his program on Saturday. So I'm very, very excited. I still need to get to Tuscaloosa because as we were talking before the show, it's been way too long since I've actually been in T-Town. But I will take a number one Bama game on the road any day.
We look forward to it and hopefully getting you back to now Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. If you could just kind of tell our audience where you've been so far this college football season and what stood out to you your first few weeks on the sidelines.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was actually talking to Paul Feinbaum about this earlier today. I feel like we always reach a point in the season where we go, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's week 6. But you're also going, how is it only week 6 with everything that we've already seen? I've been to Missouri a couple times. I actually had the double overtime Vandy, Missouri game where the Tigers came out victorious a couple weeks ago. I was at Texas A&M back in week 2, their game against McNeese. I was at Texas for the first time last week, watching them beat Mississippi State to open conference play. And I'm trying to remember where I was week 1. It feels so long ago. Tennessee. I was at Tennessee week 1 to see them play Chattanooga to open the season. And I think I was able to learn a lot right off the bat. Going back to your question, I mean, as soon as we hit the field that week 1 in Tennessee and got through our coaches meetings, I think we knew this team was going to be really special. I was bought in on this team, maybe being a little bit of an underdog, a dark horse nationally going into this season. And I think that Tennessee has only proven that they are here to be a college football playoff team more and more as the weeks go on. They've obviously got a tough test against Arkansas on the road this weekend coming off of a bye week, but I've been really impressed by them. Missouri hasn't necessarily filled my cup the way that I hoped they would through 4 games. Again, another test for them as well as they hit the road this weekend against Texas A&M, a very talented defense that I saw up close and personal week 2. That is an NFL defensive front. So we're going to learn a lot about Missouri and what their offense is truly capable of looking like for the rest of the season, I think, this Saturday. And then, of course, I think all of us learned more than anything, whether you were there or not, about the Alabama-Georgia game last week. And I think we learned that Alabama is maybe even better than they were a season ago. And so much of that is due to what Jalen Milroe has done in his development with this staff. So again, really excited to see that up close and personal. But I will say too, not to ramble too much, but having seen Vanderbilt against Missouri, this ain't your dad's Vanderbilt team either. This is a talented Vanderbilt team that's not necessarily an easy chalk up win. Now, maybe for the number 1 team in the country, things look a little bit different, but this isn't a Vandy team that you can.
And of course, last year, Alabama fans love the Iron Bowl victory against Auburn, the win in the SEC championship game. But I think the other favorite game that Alabama fans had was New Mexico State at Auburn, a great win for New Mexico State a year ago. And Alyssa, as we get ready for Vandy, there's quite a bit of New Mexico State flair on this Vanderbilt coaching staff and roster.
Yeah, there is. And it starts at quarterback, right, with Diego Pavia. And it's funny, I was actually talking to somebody within the Vanderbilt program this week, and they did say, well, Diego's already beaten Auburn. Might as well go beat Alabama too. Obviously, your listening audience doesn't necessarily think that's as funny as I did when I heard that. But yeah, not only Diego Pavia and some of the players that he brought with him, Eli Stowers, one of those guys that's become Diego Pavia's favorite target or go-to target out of the tight end room. He was actually telling me this story this week about how Stowers got to New Mexico State competing for the quarterback job, ended up losing it to Pavia. then long story short, Pavia ends up in Nashville, hosts Eli on his visit. They're now best friends. They live together. That's just one of the handful of players. And then Jerry Kill, obviously coming over from New Mexico State as well. Not necessarily your offensive coordinator, as Tim Beck holds that title at Nashville, but Jerry Kill has his fingerprints all over this offense and all over what this Vanderbilt offense is looking to achieve this year. And I truly believe that with Clark Lee calling the defense this year, which is a bit different from what a lot of head coaches are doing, right? You see more and more head coaches relaxing or giving up the reins of calling the offense or calling the defense. Here's Clark Lee, who's stepped back in to being that defensive coordinator. I truly believe that without the Diego Pavia, Jerry Kill, Tim Beck, spider web kind of coming in here and having the history that they do, I don't know that it works as well as it has for Vanderbilt so far this season. So it's been something really cool to watch come together, but you're right. It is like New Mexico State East out there in Nashville right now.
Well, looking to the Crimson Tide, as you mentioned, a great start this year for Alabama. And for you getting ready for this broadcast, how do you try to tell the story of Ryan Williams without telling our fans over and over again that he's 17 years old?
It's funny because on my Wednesday show on Out of Pocket, we opened the segment. I said, I don't know if you guys know this, but Ryan Williams is 17. I don't know if anyone's told you this before, that he's 17 years old. You know, it's something that I'm sure Alabama fans, their ears are bleeding at this point, hearing it over and over and over again. But it's still such a phenomenon that he is out here dominating the way that he is at the age that he is. And I host Out of Pocket with a very talented former wide receiver, Randall Cobb, who played at Kentucky, obviously had a lengthy NFL career. And you should have seen the group text on Saturday night after, we're not even talking about the bobbled catch as much as we are the double spin move, pull the mouth guard out, do the dirty bird in the end zone. But Cobb's like, I haven't seen pros do that. And this kid this kid can't even vote. And he's doing that. It's unbelievable. How do we tell the story? I think it'll probably come up one way or another. I was talking with Jam Miller in my preparation for this week, and I asked him about it. What is the reaction from the offense? What does it do for you guys to see someone like Ryan make a play like that? And he was saying that they give Ryan their own fair share of trash talk too. Like, hey, buddy, you still only have your learner's permit. You don't even have a driver's license yet. So it's not just us in the outside world. It's the guys in that locker room too, who are clearly wowed by it. It's amazing though. The connection that him and Jalen have built clearly very quickly. And not only that, just the amount of weapons that this Alabama team has offensively. Now, I think the big question that starts with Ryan Williams and permeates the rest of the team, will you be able to start as fast mentally and on the field as you did against Georgia a week ago? You're on the road against Vandy, a team that has not fared very well in the series between Alabama and Vandy, and we understand that. But again, you don't want to get caught sleeping in the SEC. Are you able to keep the foot on the gas in the same way that they were able to against Georgia? That'll be where my attention goes early in this game.
You mentioned this will be the first time you get to interact with Kalen DeBoer. Just so far from afar, what have you liked about how he's handled this transition from Coach Saban retiring, him getting the job and getting Alabama to this start? And what are you looking forward to talking with him about most coming up on Friday?
Yeah, I remember talking to some Alabama guys at media days, and they kind of echoed what we've said on our radio shows and what we've said on TV ever since the Kalen DeBoer hire became official. And that was, hey, mad respect for the guy replacing the guy, right? And I know we've kind of beat that conversation into the ground, and we've had it ever since it became official. But still, I have a ton of respect for the way Coach DeBoer has gone about dealing with the pressure and dealing with the inevitable comparisons, and Coach Saban being brought up in every single question. And there's some guys who would say, this is my team now, let it be the DeBoer era. But he has been so masterful in the way that Coach Saban is still very much involved with that team, as he should be, being a sponge, being thankful for everything that Coach Saban laid in front of him, but also saying, hey, I am the head coach of this program now, and we are going to maybe do things a little bit differently. There are going to be changes just for how I've found success in the way that I run things. I will say, like you said, I haven't had a one-on-one conversation with him yet, but I will say media to former players, to current players, I have yet to hear someone say one negative thing about Kalen DeBoer. It is only who he is as a man, and then football second. The way he cares about his players, the way he cares about people around him, how much people enjoy truly having conversations with him. Oh, and by the way, he's a really good football coach. And in my book, that goes a really long way because, you wouldn't be here if you weren't a really good football coach. But the fact that people have such kind things to say about him too makes me even more excited to get to interact with him and this staff.
You mentioned getting to talk with Jam Miller. Anybody else on the Crimson Tide football team you've interacted the last few weeks for the SEC Network or Out of Pocket?
Yeah, I got to chat with Deontay Lawson this week as well, just about how he's gone about, being a leader for this defense, some of the things that he's looking to put on tape this season, not only personally, excuse me, for his future NFL career, but the way that he's trying to help this defense. Fascinating, though, to listen to the way that he, again, has soaked up this new staff and has kept this defense going in the direction that they want it to go. And that was what most of my conversations this week really circled around or focused on was, okay, you had a sizable lead on Georgia, and then it slips away in the second half. So who do you become after that? And what are the conversations when it is a close game and Georgia takes the lead? What are you saying to each other on the sidelines? Who's doing the talking? And what struck me was that Deontay said when they got into the locker room, it wasn't just one player. It wasn't just Coach DeBoer. It wasn't just Jalen Milroe. It was everybody saying it's 0-0. It's 0-0. And we're convincing ourselves that this game is 0-0 because if we come out with the mentality that it's not, we're going to get punched in the mouth. And obviously the second half became what it was. But for them to be so adamant about the fact that we didn't do anything in the first half. This is a brand new football game. It's something you hear quite often, but with the way they talked about it and the way he described what that locker room was like, I believe it through and through. And this is a hungry team. And it was fascinating to get Deontay's view as a veteran guy, helping some of these young guys understand what the Alabama standard is and his description of just how exactly they're doing that when the cameras are off.
Well, you'll be on the sidelines coming up Saturday for Alabama against Vanderbilt. But before we let you go, let our audience know about Out of Pocket if they haven't caught that before on Wednesday night. So what makes that show a little bit different than some of the other programming on SEC Network?
Yeah, so we're in our, fourth or fifth season. I should probably know that. Our show is a true midweek show. We're looking back on the previous Saturday. We're looking forward to the upcoming Saturday. We're a very player interview heavy show. And a big reason for that is we want to help the fans get to know the players that they love on Saturdays. We want them to get to know them better and love them for who they are when the helmet's not on as well. So we talk plenty of football, but we also get to know them from a personality standpoint, kind of encourage them to open up a little bit. We'll veer maybe outside of the world of football. And it's meant to be us sitting in the living room, having a conversation with our friends about SEC football. And so if you haven't checked out the show, come hang out with us on Wednesday nights.
You do great work, and that'll be included coming up on Saturday when you're on the sidelines for the SEC Network broadcast of Alabama against Vanderbilt. Alyssa Lang, just thank you for all the time you've given us today here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Thank you.
Can't wait. Thanks for having me.
This is what being a NASCAR fan is all about.
Gets the win at Talladega.
Singular history and tradition. And triple-header playoffs action to ratchet up the stakes. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
From one broadcast team to another here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, as Andrew Allegretta is the voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores. He joins us for the other booth, presented by Marathon, to tell us why maybe this Vanderbilt team that Alabama will see coming up on Saturday, a 2-2 Commodores team, maybe why this team is a little bit different than the team Alabama saw 2 years ago here in Tuscaloosa. Here's our conversation with Andrew Allegretta.
Andrew, it's great to see you again. A couple of years since we've had the Commodores and the Crimson Tide, but how's everything going on West End?
You know, we're doing great. I mean, I think we would have liked to flip one of the previous couple of games that we had versus Georgia State or Missouri, but I do think this has been certainly a renewed Vanderbilt team here in 2024. So all things considered, plus the construction, which everyone's going to enjoy today for sure. Between Vanderbilt and Alabama is moving things in a place where Vanderbilt needs to be. So that's good.
That's certainly good to hear about. And again, Vanderbilt got everyone's attention week 1 against Virginia Tech. Did you have some good confidence about this Vandy team going into that first matchup as they were able to pick up the win against the Hokies in overtime?
I think I would be lying, Roger, if I said I had all of this confidence in the world that things were going to work out in a certain direction. I think to me, the 2024 season was a bunch of curiosity more than anything else because so much had changed. It's a new offensive coordinator. It's a new defensive coordinator, which is our head coach. It's a new quarterback. There's a ton of new players. I think it's 51 new players on this roster, which is not totally unheard of in college football these days, but certainly for us, that's new. So it was a season of curiosity, and it got off to a fantastic start versus Virginia Tech. And the way that this offense is designed, and certainly the leadership of Diego Pavia, started things off incredibly well. And Vanderbilt, to borrow some coach speak, played to its identity right away. Virginia Tech was very, very uncomfortable, and that certainly spurred this season forward significantly in week 1.
Yeah, it was a great result for the Commodores and a win after that against Alcorn State. When you mentioned the games against Georgia State and as well Missouri, what led to some of the inconsistencies from Vanderbilt in those 2 games that ultimately led to losses?
Well, Georgia State, I do give them credit for scheming up our offense pretty well. Diego Pavia was the SEC Offensive Player of the Week against Virginia Tech. We displayed this option attack that sort of came out of the pistol. And Georgia State said, well, we're not going to let you get to the edge. We're going to force you to read this defense and hand it off up the middle. And Vanderbilt struggled with the running up the middle, and they found their counterpunch, but perhaps they found it a little bit too late in the fourth quarter with Eli Stowers. As far as Missouri's concerned, I think Vanderbilt played a pretty good game. The biggest problem Vanderbilt has had has been penalties through the first 4 games. Honestly, Vanderbilt is 15th in this conference in penalties. It's like 8 penalties for 83 yards per game, which is so unlike a Clark Lee team. They were first in the conference a season ago against Georgia State. It directly led to 2 touchdowns. There was a holding on a run that would have been a touchdown. By the way, it would have been a touchdown without the hold. And then on another drive defensively, there was a roughing the passer that extended the drive. And then like 2 plays later, there was a 40-yard touchdown pass by Georgia State. So the penalties have been a problem for Vanderbilt. And if that continues, certainly versus Alabama, it's going to make for an uncomfortable afternoon.
You mentioned the quarterback, Diego Pavia. When he's playing at his best, what is he doing well for Vanderbilt and getting everybody moving in the right direction?
That's an interesting question. And somebody else asked me that this week. And, with so many Southeastern Conference players, it's easy to talk about the fact that they've got this unbelievable arm that they can throw the football 80 yards, or you've got Hurts, or you've got Milroe, or you've got any one of these players in the past for Alabama that can make tremendous athletic plays with their feet. I don't know that that's Diego Pavia. In fact, he probably does not have the strongest arm. He's probably not the fastest guy, but what he is a fierce competitor. The thing that I've said, Roger, a couple of times is the fact that he's a self-made Southeastern Conference starting quarterback, right? He started his career at New Mexico Military Institute, of all places, played his way to a scholarship opportunity at New Mexico State, and then played his way into an opportunity here at Vanderbilt. He is a fierce competitor. I think with his rushing ability, the thing that is unique about him is he invites contact. He's not reckless about it. He's not going to take a direct hit, or at least he's going to try to avoid it. But for all of these elusive running quarterbacks, he's not that. He invites contact. He's going to get the extra 2 or 3 yards. And for this offense, he tends to keep them on schedule. And then the other thing so far, not perfect, but he tends to take care of the football. And that obviously has to continue versus Alabama as well.
Who are some of the key skill players that are around him in this offense, both running backs and wide receivers?
Yeah, Eli Stowers has become his kind of go-to guy. Had 10 targets versus Missouri. Threw a touchdown pass versus, I guess that was Alcorn State. He's the former quarterback out of high school, went to Texas A&M, transferred out of there, became a tight end at New Mexico State, and has certainly been Diego Pavia's favorite target so far. After Stowers, Cedric Alexander is blossoming, a sophomore running back from Texas. He was all SEC freshman team a season ago. and certainly is the feature back for sure for Vanderbilt. But watch out for number 23, AJ Newberry, who's got elite speed, trying to get to the edge. Can he get to the edge consistently versus Alabama? I don't know, but he's got elite speed for sure, and I'm sure Vanderbilt will try to use that.
Who are the playmakers on defense?
CJ Taylor certainly is the one that jumps to mind right away. We were kind of going through it. I think CJ might have had 9 tackles versus you guys back in 2022. And it was maybe the first sign of, CJ Taylor is going to be a really good player for Vanderbilt. He's a safety, had an opportunity to go pro last year, but did elect to come back to Vanderbilt to play a slightly different position, play more of a boundary safety now. But he is someone that can disrupt the backfield. He also has a handful of career interceptions. He's got 2 defensive touchdowns in his career. So number 1, CJ Taylor for sure is the primary guy in the defense for Vanderbilt.
And then what has Jerry Kill meant to this program since he's joined Clark Lea's staff?
Goodness. I think Jerry's meant a ton. Our color analyst on our broadcast is Norman Jordan, played for Vanderbilt 1982. And Vanderbilt was very, very good that season. And I think one of the things that Norm talks about is the fact that there's 1,000 things in college football to think about, to deal with on the field, off the field, from press conferences to depth charts to whatever's going on academically. And it's really easy to get caught up in the noise. I think Jerry Kill has done a really good job of letting this program focus on like the 3 or 4 that actually matter. And when you kind of strip away all of the noise, you can keep yourself on track. And, just watching from afar, obviously the job that Kalen DeBoer has done so far has been very, very good. I think he probably falls under the same category of football coaches that are really, really good at reducing college football down to the things that really matter. And, the Vanderbilt job is a hard one. No one's denied that. And I think for Clark stepping into his alma mater, I think he probably did try to tackle a lot of things very early on, which was needed. But at the same time, Coach Kill has helped him really focus on the things that actually matter. And I think you can kind of feel that here this season.
So a lot of construction going on campus at Vanderbilt, and especially with First Bank Stadium. Kind of what does it look like this year for our fans getting ready to come to the game? And then ultimately, what is the vision for this stadium?
What does it look like? Is that behind the barriers or is that inside the barriers? Because it's a very different thing. If you're inside the barriers, it's a gigantic pile of dirt with a lot of really expensive steel beams for what it's worth. I say that half jokingly, in part because half of the stadium is done. So a season ago, we all had a good chuckle, laugh, whatever about the fact that Vanderbilt's scoreboard was suspended on cranes, which I kind of missed. It's now nostalgic for me. But those cranes are gone. The north end zone is now complete. It's the basketball practice facility, and it comes right up against the football stadium. There's suites, there's all of that sort of stuff. It's actually a fantastic place to watch a college football game. They're still working on the south end zone. So for Bama fans that are there, they're going to see a bunch of steel beams. They will see the structure of what it will become, but that is still under construction. I think the vision ultimately for Vanderbilt's, and it's kind of the difference, Roger, to me of an urban campus versus, a generic college town, is there are so many places where you can tailgate and have community and bring people together on a college football Saturday in a college town. You just have the space. In an urban campus, that's been more difficult. One of the things the construction has designed to do is to create some space where Vanderbilt fans can truly come together on a college football Saturday, on a college basketball night, on a college baseball weekend, where you can get a better sense of community. And that's the big picture stuff. The really granular thing is like we've tenfolded our premium seats. We basically had no premium seats here, which in college athletics or in athletics period isn't really going to cut it. So it's a really well thought out, certainly smaller, but really smart, thoughtful elevation of the landscape for Vanderbilt athletics. And, we're getting there. It's going to take another couple of years, though.
You've got the Crimson Tide today, and then what does the rest of the road look like for the Commodores this year?
Let's see. We go to Kentucky after you guys. Wait a minute. I feel like this is, you guys have little rat traps, right? Around the building this week,
right.
huh? I feel like you're luring me into a conversation beyond 1 week at a time. We got Kentucky after this. We've got Ball State. We've got Texas. We've got, Auburn bye week or Auburn South, whatever. It's the Southeastern Conference. We've got number 1. We've got number 2. Texas, whatever Tennessee is at this point in time. We've got number 4. We've got LSU, whatever they are. Outside of the generic movements of week to week of college football, certainly the return of Diego Pavia, Jerry Kill, and Tim Beck to the Plains in Auburn a year after they beat them will be a very highly anticipated matchup in early November. So that's one to pay attention for.
We'll keep our eyes out for it. Andrew Allegretta, thank you so much for joining us. Talk all things Vanderbilt. Can't wait to see you on Saturday. Just thank you again for your time. Roll Tide.
Go Doors, anchor down.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Zabien Brown. This is Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
Don't miss out as NASCAR returns to Talladega this weekend. Witness all-out, full-speed racing on the high banks of Talladega and be a part of electric NASCAR playoffs atmosphere. Lock in your tickets for this epic weekend now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. We're excited about what's coming up on Saturday between Alabama and Vanderbilt in Nashville. But before we go on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, let's take a look at what's coming up across the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Make sure you get caught up on all sports around Alabama athletics with a new episode of Tide TV this week. That'll drop tomorrow on RollTide.com, the Alabama Athletics YouTube channel, as well as our TV affiliates across the state. Then on Saturday, Alabama in Nashville against Vanderbilt. 3:15 will be the kickoff. Our coverage will start at noon on the network, with Radio Network, of course. You could always listen on the go on the Varsity Network app. And don't forget, the Yay Alabama Booth Cam will be streaming live as well. We'd love to have you join us and join in some of the fun commentary during the game on the live Booth Cam presented by Yay Alabama. Sunday, a new edition of the Kalen DeBoer television show with Coach DeBoer and Chris Stewart breaking down the Vanderbilt game. And then we will talk all about it Monday night with a new episode of Crimson Tide Rewind, 6 p.m. from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. Corey Reamer and I will talk about Alabama against Vanderbilt and a really quick turnaround looking ahead to what's coming up next week for Alabama's next home game against the South Carolina Gamecocks. Make sure you follow us at UA_CTSN, all of your social media platforms. There you will get even some live booth cam reactions, some quick touchdown clips hopefully coming up on our social media platforms. TikTok has really taken off as well recently, so make sure you're subscribing there. Like us, of course, on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and of course, all of you watching on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and hit subscribe, turn the notifications on so you won't miss anything from the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Follow us at UA_CTSN. We close out this edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, as we always do on Thursdays, by hearing from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Kalen DeBoer, who last night was at Baumhauer's for Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show. Before we give him the final word, again, a quick thanks to all the guests we've had in the show today, Zabien Brown, Alyssa Lang, and Andrew Allegretta. Thanks to Ethan Carabin, our video producer, who put this entire show together. Now let's take a look back to last night's edition of Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show. Some fun moments, not only with Coach DeBoer, linebacker Jihad Campbell, the voice of the Tide, Chris Stewart as well, as they get you ready for Alabama against Vanderbilt.
Hyde certainly had a huge play, but that's not really at all foreign for his game.
No, it isn't. This guy is all over the field. You can see it, the number of tackles he has, the interception. He did a great job making a play for us. Did you think you were going to get a score on that? I know the guy came from the right.
Did.
You didn't. Yeah,
I definitely did. I seen it in the corner of my eyes. I thought my guy was going to block for me, but it's all good.
Hodge got something, but I just appreciate everyone this last weekend. It was a lot of fun. It was a big game for us. Everything leading up to it with the bye week even added more. But I know these guys had a blast, and it's fun coaching these guys every single day, and especially last Saturday.
Jihad, got to be excited to go back on the road again. You played high-profile games. But it's a conference game, and it means a lot playing in a city like Nashville.
Definitely, yeah. I've never been to Vanderbilt, actually, so it's going to be pretty exciting, going out there with the guys and, letting all of our talent, just flourish.
Gentlemen, appreciate you both so very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for the time, and Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.